Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the great gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave all the Muslims that are living today is our forefathers, the Sahabah themselves. As many of us, many scholars before would say, just the fact that the Sahaba came and went from the lowest of the lows, right? From rags, not only on the streets of New York, but rags in the world scene where they are literal Bedouins, right? Camel herders, lizard eaters, to being the leaders of the world, that alone is a miracle and a proof of Islam itself. And so we study the Quran, yes, and we taste its miracle. At the same time, we study the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how much of a living expression of Quran that he was. At the same time, we also study the lives of the Sahaba because it was through the Sahaba implementing the Quran and connecting to the Quran in their lives that Islam became a global phenomenon. And that's why we have Islam today, and that's why we're Muslims today, alhamdulillah. So today I wanted to talk about one Sahaba, which in particular is my favorite Sahaba. And he's a Sahaba that's not often talked about, at least not as often as you could say like Umar radiallahu anh or Abu Bakr radiallahu anh or others. And this Sahaba's name is Mus'ab ibn U'mayr. Now Mus'ab, his story is very fascinating in that when he converted to Islam, all of the community here there were against Islam. Even his parents were against Islam. And so he kept his Islam secret. Mus'ab, before Islam, and even when he kept his Islam secret, was known to be a very wealthy, handsome boy. Such that when he walked in the streets, all of the girls wished that they would be able to marry this boy. And the itar, the cologne and perfume that he would wear, it was so expensive that once he would walk in the streets, when you walk there, in that same street, even after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, hour, or however long, for a certain period of time, people would know that Mus'ab ibn U'mayr walked down these streets just by the distinct smell. So subhanAllah, mashallah, he was very wealthy, right? He was very intelligent, very sharp and smart, right? He had the good grades, you could say perfect GPA, the doctor in the making, in our sense, right? At the same time, he was very noble and honorable. Everyone knew his family, and all the girls wanting to marry him in such a society means that his name and his family name was known. Now look at his story that then after. His mom finds out that he is a Muslim. And basically during that time, Muslims secretly would go to the house of Arqam, right? And there they would go and learn Islam and secretly then come back home. So someone found Mus'ab going secretly and going there and then coming back and ratted on him, telling his mom that he's Muslim. His mom chained him. With little cuffs and chains, chained him. There's no law, there's no domestic abuse laws or, child protection phone number that you can call back then. The law is, your parents, your family, the tribe leader, that is the law. Anyhow, Mus'ab is commanded by his mother that you better give up Islam. Otherwise, you're not letting loose and we're not gonna feed you and, that's it. You're causing dishonor to our family. Mus'ab doesn't give in. Whether it's 1 day, 2 days, he's getting food, but he's just there locked up. And subhanAllah, for him, the La ilaha illallah that he had in his heart was more important than all the social recognition he may get from others or the acceptance of his very own beloved parents. So he was standing firm, and this is the first lesson and the reason why I love him in the fact that he is willing to stand up for Islam and not compromise his principles. Anyhow, the story then continues in that his servant or slave of the family themselves, right? One of them saw his condition and knew him to be a very honest, trustworthy person. So she secretly unlocked his chains and let him run away. He runs away, mashallah, and then thereafter he learns Islam, and now he's completely disconnected from his mother, from the riches, from social recognition, from all the girls that wanted to marry him. He had all the millions of Twitter followers, you could say, in today's standards. He's a celebrity in Quraysh, right? The Justin Bieber of his times. Yet, because of Islam, he's like, I don't care. I'm willing to give it all up if it means that. And I just want to live my Islam. If I can live my Islam and have the fame and use the fame for Islam, so be that too, right? He gives up all of that and then becomes one of the beautiful, beautiful companions of Rasulullah ﷺ who had one of the greatest gifts that he offered to Rasulullah. What is that gift? Mus'ab ibn U'mayr radiallahu anh, is the companion Rasulullah himself commissioned to go to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. He is the exact Sahabah who went to Medina earlier on and started working on the people and the hearts of the people there. And only after, softening their hearts, and after another groups of individuals in Al-Madinah started converting to Islam, later on we know Rasulullah then was invited by the people of Medina to come immigrate there. If it wasn't for Mus'ab ibn U'mayr and his beautiful work in Medina and being the representative of Rasulullah there, right, being the true da'i, the caller to Islam there, then Rasulullah wouldn't have found a home anywhere else. He went to Taif, doors are closed there. He tried to convince his Meccan people for so many years, over a decade, didn't work. Mus'ab was the one who opened the doors for Medina, and only after Rasulullah immigrated to Medina was the start of, you could say, an established Islamic community beginning. Before Al-Madinah, we were just a group of individuals that were trying to survive and trying to be accepted in a greater, hateful and painful Meccan society. So Rasulullah immigrates to Medina, and because of Mus'ab ibn U'mayr, Medina becomes the heart of Islam, and later on the rest is history, where from the peaceful treaties to the wars to the domestic establishment of Quranic faith and Quranic law, Medina became the center for what was soon to become a global empire, and the empire of truth that all of the other prophets were, foretold about Rasulullah coming, and the victory of the believers and all of those things. Mus'ab is the key figure here, and so the reason he is my hero, my favorite Sahaba, is because he was the opener of Islam to Medina, and thus he became a viceroy, a representative of Rasulullah and let Islam flourish in other parts of the world. In the same way, I myself, and I feel all of us Western Muslims, we need to be very proud in trying to be real, you could say, inviters to Islam, callers to Islam, living our Islam, being confident about our Islam, and then inviting other people to the beauty that Islam is. Not that we're so busy only in our struggles. We do a sin, then we say istighfar, and then we do another sin, we say istighfar, and we're just constantly only in that cycle and that talk for decades upon decades. No, we need to also think about, okay, how do I stop the sin, ask for forgiveness, and how do I continue calling people to Islam, even during when I'm sinning, and after I'm sinning? Like that attitude of part of my responsibility of a Muslim is to call others to this beautiful life of Islam needs to be there. So I view myself as a Mus'ab, you could say. Just like Umar the great companion, his great grandson was known as Umar al-Thani, the second Umar that came, who was just as Umar, and who lived his life trying to be like his great grandfather Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anh. In the same way, I want to be a Mus'ab al-Thani, right? A Muslim caller to Islam who opens America for Islam, who opens the West for Islam, and who brings such love of Rasulullah and Islam in the hearts of the people here, indigenous people here, such that they would welcome the people of Rasulullah to their communities here, not hate on them. So that's a motivation for me, and that's why Mus'ab bin U'mayr is my favorite companion. His life's end was actually him fighting in a war with the Muslims and giving up his life, and he was killed in that battle. And then subhanallah, this same Mus'ab who wore the finest clothes, you could say, the Gucci, the Armani, the Tommy Hilfiger, right, wore the best of clothes before his Islam and when his Islam was secret. This same Mus'ab didn't have enough clothes during that battlefield, and this was when the Muslims were facing a lot of difficulty, to even wrap up his whole body with cloth when he was being buried in his grave. So Rasulullah obviously, when seeing the state of the many great companions that died at that battle, he was just filled with tears of how much sacrifice, how much tears, how much prayers, how much work these same individuals gave for the cause of Islam. And subhanAllah, Rasulullah himself will be a witness for those companions on the Day of Judgment, whether it's for their covering, their sins, and everything else, subhanAllah. So I want to be the same type of person who gives up his life for the sake of Islam, and who doesn't let my image outside derail me from my Islam, but rather uses everything else that I have, whether it be my money, my wealth, my connections, the people I know, I use it all for the sake of Islam, because that is my priority. So that's my favorite Sahabi, and we all should read the lives of the biographies of the Sahabah and pick out our favorite ones too. So then we can look up to be like them. Obviously, our ultimate role model is Rasulullah and the different prophets, right? But at the same time, we also look up to the Sahabah and look at the different ones that we love, so that we can also follow in their footsteps, inshallah. So in the comments below, you can even share who your favorite Sahaba or Sahabiya is, inshallah. And let's continue on their legacy of sacrificing our lives for the sake of Islam itself. Jazakallah khair for watching the video. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.